Welcome, everybody, to the Niagara County Facade Program orientation session. My name is Michael Casale. I'm the Commissioner of the Niagara County Department of Economic Development. Joining me for this session are legislator Richard Andres, who's chairman of the Niagara County Economic Development Committee of the legislature and the brains behind the Facade program, as well as Andrea Kleisek, who's my deputy commissioner and who has put an awful lot of work, as has the entire economic development team here in Niagara County, into this program. You're going to be hearing from Rich and Andrea in just a couple of minutes, but first, a couple of housekeeping items that I wanted to share with you. You are going to be muted throughout this presentation. If you have a question, please use the Q&A panel at the bottom of the screen. You'll find it by clicking on the button with the three dots. Please hold your questions until the end of our program, as I am sure that many of your questions will most likely be addressed during our presentation. If we cannot answer your question, we will follow up with you afterwards and get you the information that you need. Now I'd like to introduce Richard Andres of the Niagara County Legislature's Economic Development Committee, who will give a program description and talk a bit about the intent for funding this program. Mr. Chairman, it's all yours.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner Casale. That's to call me. As a county legislator and as a former city councilman, I've seen these type of programs work on downtown Webster Street, North Tonawanda. I've seen the excitement that can build when you start to see this community get revived, and when I see businesses get developed, and the spillover becomes sort of infectious, and we've seen it here in North Tonawanda. As far as this program goes, we've got a sort of we received money from the American Rescue Plan that came in from the federal government, and the task, as we saw it, was to get the money in the hands of businesses who are recovering from the pandemic, and to sort of jumpstart that resurgence. Ever since the pandemic hit, the Niagara County Center for Economic Development was there to try to help people mitigate the damage caused by the pandemic, and more importantly, as it sort of the end was always in sight, to try to bounce back even better and stronger than before. So with that in mind, we looked at what we could do to put resources in the hands of those people like yourselves that create jobs, and that small business backbone of every community in this county, and what we could do to sort of improve the the look of the community, the feel of the community, and bounce back even better than we were before. So for those on this call, I want to thank you for taking that first step to sort of join us as we bounce back, and come back from this pandemic stronger even than we were going into it. What we want to do is support those businesses that have been affected by COVID-19, and because it's associated with that the funding that came with COVID-19. That's why we required that folks kind of were in business for a certain period of time and were impacted by the pandemic. When we talk about revitalizing buildings, every city, every town, every village in this county has their version of a sort of a business district that's that's usually we've got a historic county where we've got a lot of old buildings, we've got a lot of old structures that need work. We know the commitment it takes to be part of those to be in those communities. We know that you got to love the community, you got to respect the old buildings that are there, and we all know that they could use a little help. So this is meant to sort of draw attention to that and get some resources and put it in your hands, the people that are best able to sort of bring those main streets back. And we certainly realize that this is something that is a county-wide issue, and this is county-wide resources that can be put to increasing the viability of those very important historic business districts. When I was on the city council in North Tonawanda, as we got these programs coming in, and we did a lot of work, like I said, and I've seen it work firsthand, one of the things that we really dealt with was a lot of the people that were adjacent to those areas that were where the resources were targeted, kind of got a little upset that they weren't part of this program. And the way the state program is set up is to sort of zero in on a real core business district. We wanted to expand that out and increase it, increase the areas that we could cover. So we went into areas that were a little bit sort of maybe not focused on by the state, and we know our county better than anybody. So we decided projects, but that need to get done in order for that building and for that community to be viable going forward. So when we're talking about what we can do, what we can do to improve the business environment, we want to create an environment that attracts the investment of folks that like yourself, and we can foster some development, create some business opportunities, and sort of reimagine what our business community can be from a maybe tired and old to vibrant and new and fresh and ready to see us into the next into the next 100 years. We want to assist property owners making buildings more energy efficient. We know some of these old buildings, some of the reasons people don't like to go into them is that they're not necessarily energy efficient, and you lose through the single pane windows and things of that nature. You end up sort of paying more to be in a building like that. We want to try to address those concerns that people have and some issues like that. And if you're not ADA compliant, Americans with Disabilities Act, which maybe some of these old buildings are not, well, we can make that a little bit easier to improve that building so it can meet the needs of every consumer. And really, one of the big things that I think is attractive of this program is that we're going to leverage, your sort of investments, and we can come in with county resources and kind of improve on that. This is not a gift; this is an investment in our future, and we want to see the folks that are on this call, help them as they continue to build this community up. We want to help you. We like to see folks that have skin in the game, so to speak. And if you're going to invest, we're going to be there to help you, as we are with a lot of our programs. But this one is kind of unique in that the resources came from federal dollars going to the county to put on the street and build back this community and come back from that pandemic even stronger than we were before. When we look at the intent of this funding, I want people to take sort of a broad view of it. What can we do to improve your building, your community, so that we're more viable than before? And we are there to really assist you. This is a when we took a look at all the other programs that have been offered, this is we've tried to remove any impediments, any of the things that really kind of limited people from being part of those programs before. So this is with the business districts in mind, with this particular county in mind, and we have a tremendous team that is here and ready to help to put those resources to work for the county. So with that, I want to turn it over to Commissioner Cassell, and thank you all from the bottom of my heart for all the hard work that you do and for really sticking to it when maybe it would have seemed easier at times to get out of business during that.
Thank you so much.
Your staff.
You're welcome, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. We appreciate that very, very much. And thank you for being the brains behind this program. Let's get right into it. When it comes to eligible applicants and eligible areas, to be eligible, you must be a for-profit or nonprofit that has been in business, like Rich said, at least since January of 2020. If you started your business after January 2020, you won't be eligible. You have to be able to indicate negative impact from COVID-19. Property owners or landlords that have owned the property before January 2020 are eligible to apply. This could include buildings owned by nonprofit organizations that are located on a main street or a well-defined business district. This type of applicant should explain how their project contributes to the economic vitality of the area. Now, if you lease space within a building, located in a qualified property, and have been in business and have occupied that space since before January 2020, you are eligible to apply. Now, when it comes to eligible target areas, applicants will need to identify that their project location and describe its position within what we refer to as, again, I'll use the finger quotes, a main street or a well-defined business district. These are areas that contain a mix of retail stores, restaurants, service providers, entertainment venues, and offices, or an area of commercial activity broader than just a single street. That is also characterized by the mixed uses that I just described. Boundaries can be defined by a business or professional organization, a business improvement district, or a commercial zoning district. With regards to eligible expenses, eligible expenses include projects that make permanent improvements to the business and or building facade. You see some of the examples here on this slide. Some other examples that might not be on this slide that would be eligible, and Rich mentioned a couple of them, along with the stairs, ramps for ADA compliance, walkways, decking, exterior lighting, roofing is also available, along with what you see on this slide. Eligible expenses will be deemed those that deliver a sustainable outcome that lends to a more visually appealing business district or corridor. Temporary, seasonal, or removable improvements like landscaping, flowers, holiday decorations are not eligible expenses unless it's coordinated as part of a district-wide improvement that will span the entire, again, Main Street or business district corridor and is the focus of a business and professional association with members in that Main Street or business district corridor. There you see on this slide as well, ineligible expenses. They include activities like plans, studies, routine professional services like accounting, legal or consulting fees, in-kind expenses incurred by employees, owners, or lessees of the business or project site. Again, those are not eligible expenses. With regards to the application process and the procedure, really the application process has begun with this webinar, which is being recorded, by the way, and will be available on our website, www.niagaracountybusiness.com, for you to go back and review at your leisure. You will have 1 month to prepare and submit your application, which must be received by us by May the 6th at 4 p.m. And you can mail your applications to the Niagara County Center for Economic Development, 6311 Indicon Corporate Drive, Suite 1, Sanborn, New York, 14132, and put on the envelope, "Attention, Niagara County Facade Program." Now you'll find that, I know we don't have a slide with the address, you'll find that address all over the place. You'll find that address on our website. You get all this information on our website, www.niagaracountybusiness.com. Just click on the incentives button, the facade program, and you'll find the application, and our address is all over the place there. Now, it's important for you to make sure that you're submitting a complete application containing all the supporting documentation that is called for in the application. Now, this includes a support letter from a local elected official, referred to as Attachment A in the application. If you're not the building owner, you will also need to submit a letter from the building owner supporting the proposed project. That's referred to as Attachment B in the application. In addition to the support letters just mentioned, you'll need to include with your project budget supporting documentation to include a minimum of 2 itemized bids or proposals for all of the proposed work and the purchase of all project-related materials. If choosing a bid other than the lowest bid, there should be a clearly written explanation as to why this decision should be supported by our committee. Now, also very important, you must show proof of matching funds, which can include a bank statement, credit card statement, loan document, or personal financial statement with account numbers redacted for your security. Now, again, hold your questions until the end of this webinar, because I'm sure many of them will be answered as we continue. I'd like now to introduce my Deputy Commissioner, Andrea Kleisik, who will talk about review and award process, grantee obligations, potential banking options, and some frequently asked questions. Andrea, take it away.
Thanks, Mike. So I'll go over the review and award process first. And I also just want to point out, this is a comment that we've already received, and I'll address it now. We appreciate that the window to some people seems short in terms of getting the application in, only because of the necessary requirement of 2 bids. And the reason for that is because the county itself only has a certain amount of time to spend these funds, and we really tried, we struggled with the dates, and we really tried to see, well, to put all the time into the work actually being done. So while the requirement to get the application in by a certain date may seem like a short window, it was done purposely in the sense that all the time that we had available, we wanted to provide to everybody to get the work actually done. We felt like that was a better use of the time, so to speak. So applications are due May 6th, as Mike said. The committee will take about 2.5 weeks to review the applications. We will, towards the end of May, we will have all the applications reviewed and scored in the application. You'll see a scoring matrix, and that's how they're going to be scored, is using that matrix. We'll turn award letters out right away. We're planning to have those out to everybody by June 1st. As of June 1st, applicants are welcome to start incurring costs. You do need to then sign the grant agreement and return it to us by June 10th, but costs can be incurred between that window. So as soon as you get your award letter, you can start your project. Let's see. And then in the grant agreement, I'll go over that quickly as well. Within the grant agreement, when you bring that back to the county, there'll be 2 attachments within the grant agreement: a property maintenance declaration, which that's a form saying that basically that you are agreeing to maintain ownership of the property for 3 years. If you don't maintain ownership of the property. And by the way, I should mention that the declaration will be filed with the county clerk's office. If that doesn't mean you can't sell the property. It just means that if you sell it within 12 months, you do have to pay the grant back. You have to pay the money back to the county. If you sell the property within 13 to 24 months, you have to pay back 75% of the grant. 25 to 36 months, you have to pay back 25%. After 3 years, you don't have to pay anything back, and it's 100% a grant, and you're free to do whatever you want at that point. The reason for this was again, and as Rich said in the beginning, what the intent of the program was to help existing property owners that we recognize maybe our small businesses struggled through the pandemic. We did not want to see us inflate the value of a bunch of properties and have people flip the properties. That was the reason that timeline is in there. The other attachment that you will sign and submit with the grant agreement is the property release form. This is basically, it's just a short form that says that you're going to give the county permission to tour the property at the end of the project if we choose to do so, and to see that the work's been completed. Maybe we're going to take some pictures, and that'll probably be for some of our reports and so forth that we need to submit at a later date. So that is the grant agreement and obligations to you. So as I think we've kind of just covered a little bit, it's a dollar for dollar match up to $50,000. That means you could have a project that is valued at $100,000. We'll pay for half of that. You would pay for the other half. You have obligated to post a Niagara County Facade program sign somewhere at your project location. The sign will be given to you when you submit your grant agreement, when you turn that in. And you have to make your site available, as I just went over, for Niagara County. And please don't, I think it's understood that obviously the county would not be intrusive. It's just a matter of you might get a call at some point to say, hey, can we stop by and take a picture of the project and include it in our annual reports that we need to submit, along with showing how it is that we use this money back to the federal government. And also, we want to have the ability to check in and make sure the projects are coming along as we were promised. So, and again, the ownership for 3 years. And we've also recognized in creating this program, Kathy, if you go to the next slide. Thank you. In creating this program, one of we really sat down as a staff and tried to say, okay, what could possibly be the impediments of it, and tried to sort of solve those problems ahead of time. We recognize that coming up with all the funds up front and then submitting your receipts for reimbursement could pose a problem for people. Quite frankly, there's really no way around that. Anybody that's taken advantage of grants before, or any sort of government assistance, you will find that that's actually always the way it is. I don't know any other way, any other program that operates differently, but maybe there is out there. But anyways, that's the way this has to operate. And understanding that this could be an issue, we did reach out to these banking institutions. You can reach out to any banking institution you want. We just took the time to reach out to a handful to find out, and explain what the program is. So you're welcome to take this information down. If you call these individuals at these places, nobody would be surprised about what you're talking about. We've already explained the program to them. We've asked them if they could assist. They obviously can't promise, yes, we can loan to every single person, but they felt confident that they could assist in this program overall. So we hope that these institutions will be of service to you and you'll find them helpful. I'm going to try and quickly go over some frequently asked questions, some questions that we've already gotten, and hopefully that will alleviate some of the questions of the people on the call this evening. What if my application is submitted late? Late applications will not be considered for funding. I understand that this, and we all understand this may sound, motion light here, that it sounds harsh, and quite frankly, if we received 20 applications, we wouldn't have a problem calling 20 people and trying to make sure that everything's there. But as this program has rolled out, we really had no idea of the level of interest. But since we have rolled it out, there's been an extreme level of interest. So it's just not possible for us to be able to call and say, hey, we're missing this, that, or the other. So we're going to have to just, take a hard stand. If applications are not complete, we just can't consider them. We don't have the staff to make, 150 phone calls and ask for things. What if my application is determined incomplete? We will put it aside. We are not going to throw it out by any means. And if we do have money left over, if we look through all the applications and there's money left over, absolutely we'll go back to those. But in our desire to hurry up and kind of get through the applications, get back to the applicants and get money, get approval letters into your hands, we can't waste time, calling it and trying to get missing pieces. What elected official should I contact for my support letter? Any elected official, mayor, supervisor, town council member, state legislator, state assembly member. The intent behind this, we just want to make sure, again, we're trying to get the money out to the people that need it as fast as possible. But while doing that, we want to make sure that we're funding projects that the community supports. So this is our way of doing that, and just making sure that the local electeds are in the know of these projects, because we would expect that they'd be able to say, hey, this isn't really kind of what the community wants, or no, we really support this, or whatever. But by no means, we also don't want anybody to think that just because your mayor, town supervisor, council member signs that letter, that does not give your project priority. It doesn't mean that it's definitely going to get funded. This was merely a means, our way of making sure that we were funding projects that were supported by the local community. What is an acceptable proof of matching funds? Bank statements, credit card statements, loan documents, personal financial statements, anything that can show us that you have the matching funds. Obviously, redact any personal information. These applications will not be made public. If anybody, foils these applications, we will redact even and scrub out any bank information. So please don't let that be a concern of yours. Are buildings owned by nonprofit organizations eligible for this program? They are eligible for the program. This wasn't made very clear in the beginning, and the reason behind that is when we were creating the program, we were focused on buildings that were largely occupied by businesses, but we recognize that not-for-profits also occupy business districts. So they are both eligible, and as long as they're in a well-defined business district. Are apartments eligible for the program? They are eligible. Applicants need to make a connection to the economic vitality of the area and clearly explain how it is important that their property be funded and its relationship to the defined business district. Again, I guess I want to go back and explain, we weren't sure, because this is the first time that we're doing this program, the level of interest and how quickly this funding would go. So I would say that apartment buildings, while I can't speak for the committee, I would say that apartment buildings are really going to have to make a strong narrative connection to how it is that they affect the business district, because this is going to be a very competitive program. Who should I contact to get bids for my project? Niagara County, we cannot recommend or supply a list of contractors, but applicants are strongly encouraged to use local companies whenever possible. Applicants can choose to either get a minimum of 2 bids from general contractors that will oversee all the work, or if not using a general contractor, get a minimum of 2 bids for each type of work to be performed. For example, if the project involves installing a new awning and replacing a roof, the applicant must get a minimum of 2 bids for the awning contractors and a minimum of 2 bids for the roofing contractors, unless the contractor is capable of performing both types of work. Can funding be used for sidewalks and parking lots? Funding can be used for sidewalks and parking lots if the applicant can successfully demonstrate how this work will help grow the business and contribute to the vitality of the area. Can funding be used to make improvements to the side or rear facades? The program focuses on front facades. However, the side and rear facades projects are eligible, especially if they can be seen from the street or during the regular business hours. For example, the rear patio of a restaurant. Will partial funding be considered? At its sole discretion, Niagara County may choose to award partial funding based upon application review. Funding requests may be reduced to exclude ineligible project costs or project costs that do not fully advance the goals of the program. Funding awards may also be reduced based on limited funding availability. When can I start my project? Do not start your project until after you have received a grant award letter from us. Expenses incurred prior to receiving an award letter will not be eligible for reimbursement. Once you have received the award letter, you can begin incurring expenses to be covered by the grant. And who should I contact if I have any questions about the program? Please send all your questions to us via email to info@NiagaraCountyBusiness.com. That's info@NiagaraCountyBusiness.com. You can use the contact us form on our website if you go to NiagaraCountyBusiness.com. Kathy, do we have any questions in the chat box?
Yes, we do. We have a question from a business that has been in business since well before 2020, but they did not occupy the building until after that date, and they're wondering if they are eligible to apply.
No. Well, if I would say no if the project is for the building and they haven't occupied the building since before January 2020, then I would say no. However, we do have other programs available, and I would encourage them to call us tomorrow, and we will talk to them about what their needs are and see if there's some other way that we can assist them with whatever it is their business needs.
Okay, next question. Somebody is asking if a mural would fall under exterior painting.
Yes, it would.
Another question, would tables be considered removable,
Would what?
or would they be tables? Would they be eligible? I'm guessing it must be a restaurant or a bar.
I don't think that inventory is an eligible cost, unless, you know what I mean? I don't want to say all tables. I think we've all seen like those like stone tables if they were kind of being put in some sort of community area or something like that. But by and large, no, I don't think that tables on a patio would be eligible. That's more of an inventory item.
Another question asking if paving is an eligible expense.
Paving is absolutely an eligible expense. I would just say that keep in mind that the program is competitive. So if I were writing the application, I would try and strengthen the narrative around, you know, how it is that the paving improves the overall vitality of the business district, especially, for example, if you are paving and it's because it's building out a patio. I mean, definitely make sure that is explained.
Okay, next question. It's from somebody who owns two businesses, two different buildings. Are they eligible to apply for funding for both?
Yes.
Okay. Another question, what if somebody needs approval from a local government planning board in order to do their project? How should they handle that?
Again, that's why, you know, we really put the time crunch up front. So get us the bids and we will we'll move through our approval process, and we really wanted to put all the time we had for people to actually do the work. So we can approve the project and you would know that you're getting the grant and then move through your planning process, your planning board approvals or whatever it is that you need to do. You know, we're not so concerned. Obviously, the project can't go on forever. And in the grant agreement, I will say it does say 12 months, but we also put in the grant agreement that you're welcome to ask for an extension. So we recognize that there's going to be a lot of need for an extension, especially in the environment that we are now with construction taking the time that it does. And that's absolutely fine. So we expect that.
Okay, next question. How long do I have to start the project?
Well, we put in the grant agreement that we wanted the project to be completed within 12 months. If there's some reason that somebody can't start the project right away, I would detail that reason in the application and keep in mind it's a competitive program. And again, I mean, I can't speak for the committee, but I would venture to guess that projects that can be done or started sooner than others would be valued more than unless there's some extreme valuable reason that I don't know, but I would detail that.
Okay, is there a map of eligible areas in the city of Niagara Falls?
There's not. We understand that it's somewhat subjective when we say a well-defined business district, but again, that's because what one person considers a business district might not be what somebody else considers a business district. And what's most important to us is that we're funding projects that are important to their local community. So, for example, you know, if there's roads that are considered business districts by the local community that we might not see it that way, we really want to put money where the local community cares about. So I would just do a really good job in that case of putting your property address down and making your argument, not your argument, but explaining strongly that why it is that is, your property is located in a business district. And keep in mind that the program is competitive, so it is going to be focused on, business districts.
Okay, next one is a comment. It's going to be hard to get 2 bids for an exterior patio within the 1 month because there's a lot of details that need to be constructed. Would you consider 1 bid for the project?
Can you repeat that question, Kathy? You kind of broke up on my end.
Oh, sure. Go back. It's going to be hard to get 2 bids for the exterior patio in
Yeah.
1 month because there's a lot of details to construct.
Yep.
Would you consider 1 bid?
We can't consider 1 bid. We thought about that. We did talk that a lot about that internally, and I just want to explain to everybody, anything, we know that this is pressing, and it's not our intention to make it difficult for anybody, but we just didn't think that making just accepting 1 bid was a responsible use of money. I mean, these are federal dollars. We're supposed to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars, and we couldn't possibly do that and only accept 1 bid. We need to have 2 bids to really ensure that we're getting competitive costs.
I think you covered this before, but somebody's asking about electrical lights. Is that an eligible expense?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Next one, what soft costs are eligible? Surveyors, architect, engineer, building permits, etc.
We don't cover building permits and architects and engineers. That would be, yes, you can include that in with the total project cost.
Okay, next one. If successful in being awarded a grant, is there an end date to complete the work in order to receive reimbursement?
There is not an end date. I can speak with the county attorney's office and find out when the end date is, and get back to that person.
Andrea, might I just chime in real quickly? And again, this is being recorded so that you can go back and take a look. But when it came to ineligible expenses, ineligible activities do include plans, studies, routine professional services like accounting services, legal or consultant fees. Those are not eligible expenses.
Okay, next question. I'm a landlord of a mixed-use building and there is a tenant operating a business on Oliver Street. Do I qualify for the grant if I'm not the business owner, just the owner of the building?
Yes.
Next question. I have rented here for 7 years. Does the 3-year affect me? Not
No.
sure what that means.
No, if you've rented there for 7 years, you can apply. You just need to get the support of your landlord and submit that with your application.
What is the total amount earmarked for this program?
So we have $3 million for the program. And again, that's why I've said, we've all said this, the program is competitive. We had no way of knowing the level of interest. It's a $3 million ceiling of funding that we have, and we have no way of knowing how many people are applying. So keep that in mind.
Next question. Can you apply for more than one project for a business? Example, a roof and a sign.
Yes. Yes, you can. Well,
Okay, next.
oh, go ahead. You know what? Yes, you can for the same business. Sorry. Yes. I was thinking of something else. I apologize. Go on.
Okay.
That becomes a part of the program of work by that applicant.
I'm sorry. What was that, Mike?
That would be one application. That would be all a part of their program of work for one application.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, next question. Just 1 second here. Someone's asking about fencing and signage not attached to facade, but on a pole sign in the front of the building. Is that eligible?
Yes, as long as they have, if they're the building owner, and if they're not the building owner, they have the support of the building owner.
Another question. How will final payment be paid if the contractor requires payment up front? Will it be paid to the business or the contractor?
We will pay the business because the business will pay the contractor. The business will then submit the receipt to us, and then we will reimburse you.
How does the business need to be, or does the business need to be on Main Street or just visible from Main Street?
Again, I guess I would go back to, this is a very, I know I'm not answering the question all the time. It's a very competitive program. So in other words, we have $3 million. If we don't receive enough applications where there's a project that's like kitty corner from Main Street and it's a good project, we would fund it. I would imagine, I shouldn't say that we would, I would imagine that we would. However, if we received, $6 million worth of applications that are right on Main Street, then that project probably won't receive as high a score as maybe somebody that is more ideally situated on actual Main Street. I should also mention that internally, after we receive the applications, it's our intention to not only go through them, ensure completeness, the staff that is, ensure that all the applications are complete, but we also plan to break them up by municipality and map them out. So that way the committee can see all the communities that these projects are in, and they can also see on a map if there's projects that maybe there's 5 projects in a row, that would obviously be a little bit more impactful than it's just one project on a street. So there's a lot of variables that are going to go into this. So that's really a hard question to answer. And what I have been telling everybody is we tried our hardest to make this as user-friendly as possible. The application is just a couple pages. And so I would encourage you to apply. It can't hurt to apply.
And the next question has to do with the scoring. How will applications be scored and evaluated?
There's a scoring matrix that it's on the website. You can download it and look at it and see what I don't have it in front of me, but what is outlined in the scoring matrix.
I have been improving my property for the last 4 years, and as such, I have some estimates that may be a year or 2 old. Can I use those estimates even though they are older?
You can use them. I would encourage you to get new ones, and the reason is if you end up, let's just use fake numbers. For example, if you submit an application for $20,000 and it's approved, and then you find out the work is actually going to cost you $50,000, you're still only going to receive $20,000.
Does participation in other grant programs exempt me from participating in this one?
It doesn't exempt you from participating in this one, no. It doesn't exempt you from participating in this one, although I would say that it's a competitive process. So I couldn't honestly say that that's not something that somebody might consider.
Next question. Can my landlord apply for a project on my building as well as myself apply for another project on the same building?
Yes, yes, that certainly could happen. I would just suggest that the two applicants coordinate their requests so they're not competing because I would imagine at that point they would both be disqualified if they were competing. So make sure there's like a coordinated application or a coordinated effort.
What if the work can be completed by the owner of the property that they own without needing a contractor? Are they eligible to apply?
They're eligible to apply. We cannot reimburse you for your time. We can only reimburse you for the expenses, the cost of the materials, but we can't reimburse you for your time.
If I was approved for the grant and the supplier has problems obtaining the product, would there be consequences? Speaking of roofing materials and ability of workers and or products having problems with either their products or completing the project.
There's no consequence. I mean, I think it's just a matter of the project doesn't get completed. Going back to, I think it was an earlier question about the end date. I'll have to speak with our county attorney's office. Again, these are federal dollars that were given to or provided to Niagara County, and they have a time frame attached to them. So we would have to go back and find out how far down the road like a project can be approved. That's why we put in the grant agreement that it was the work had to be completed in 12 months and that an extension could be requested. How many extensions can be requested? I don't know. And there's no consequence to not completing the project because there's no payment until the project's completed. So I guess I would just ask that if somebody changed their mind and they weren't going to do the project, to please let us know so we can reallocate that funding to another applicant.
Next question, please discuss the scoring matrix and where to find it. Is this completed by the applicant?
No, the scoring matrix is completed by the committee that's going to be reviewing all the applications. The scoring matrix, if you go to our website, niagaracountybusiness.com, go to on the top navigational bar, you'll see incentives, and then the drop down box, the third drop down is Niagara County Façade Program. And then if you download the application package, you'll find the scoring matrix within the program overview. It is on page 6 of the program overview. The scoring matrix goes over how the project is related to the negative impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and how the project is related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Something I want to point out, I think it was already stated earlier, this money was provided to Niagara County by the federal government for COVID relief. So that's why we need to have in here a connection to the COVID-19 pandemic. That's why there is the obligation, as Mike said earlier, that you had some sort of interest in the property, whether you owned it or you leased the property prior to January of 2020. It doesn't have to be a direct impact of, the pandemic hit and because whatever, it could be more, I guess what I'm trying to say is the pandemic hit and the funding that I originally had earmarked for my roof had to go for inventory because I needed to have supplies on hand to make it through the pandemic. And you just explained that in your narrative. But we do need to have some relationship between each project and the COVID-19 pandemic. And then the rest of the matrix is I'll read them through. Visually prominent on Main Street. How does the project reduce blight and restore vibrancy? Does it support or promote business expansion? Is the project have a historic value that will be preserved? Does it promote energy efficiency? Is it consistent with a community plan or other planning document? Is it part of a concentrated area of redevelopment? Was the application Will the project likely be completed within 12 months? Applicant has shown the ability to secure the necessary matching funds. Again, if somebody submits an application and we don't know that they can secure the matching funding, that's going to be a problem because obviously we don't know if the project can be completed and we don't want to earmark money for projects that can't be completed. And finally, does the project address any code violations, code issues, or ADA compliance? And again, this is in the program overview, which can be found on our website.
Next question. If you submit 2 bids then the intended awardee can no longer complete the project, how will that affect the grant?
Sorry, Kathy, you broke up. I heard you submit 2 bids and then one of the bidders can't do the project?
Correct. How does that affect the
That's
grant?
fine. We don't actually, I don't want to say we don't care, but we don't mind who actually does the work. The idea of 2 bids is so that we can get a fairly reliable estimate of what the award should be. And that way we can set aside that amount of money out of the 3 million. So if you have somebody else besides the people that gave you 2 bids do the work, that's fine. So for example, if you're getting a new roof and one bid comes in at 50,000 and one comes in at 55, you are awarded 50,000 because we see that the work can get done for 50,000, and then you go back, neither one of those roofers are available, and you find somebody else to do it, that's fine. But whoever it is that you have do the work, still only getting 50,000.
I think we kind of had this question before. What if the landlord sells the building before 3 years, but I'm still renting?
That's fine as long as you were the project applicant. So if the building owner is the applicant, they have a responsibility to own the property for 3 years. If you are the lessee and you are the applicant, then you have an obligation to maintain that space for 3 years. If you choose to move out earlier, you'd have to pay the grant back. If you, for some reason, were asked to leave or evicted or whatever, and it wasn't, you weren't leaving because of, like, on your own choice, that is something, quite frankly, that we haven't encountered, and I will talk to the county attorney about that tomorrow as well.
Grant funding be used for any indoor lighting sensors?
Yes.
If approved for the grant, please review what paperwork that would need to be submitted to receive grant fundings upon completion of the work.
Upon completion of the work, you need to submit any receipts. Get over to that part. And then there's 2 attachments that are outlined in the grant agreement. Let's log on to this really quick. 1 second, please. So there's certificate of construction completion, attachment G, and certificate of expense, attachment A. Basically, they are forms that have been created that you sign, and it says that this, you're certifying that your project is complete, so you can't come back and say, it hasn't been completed, I need more money, whatever. This is, you're signing this document saying that it's been complete and that you followed all the guidelines that you needed to follow, whether that be getting a building permit or going to planning board or whatever it was that you needed to do, that you did that. And attachment H, certificate of expense. And that is just a document where you sign, and basically you're certifying that the receipts that you're handing in to us are true. They're not fraudulent, and those are true costs incurred.
How many people attended this session? I can answer that. The high number, we had 123 people on. Will grant money be considered taxable income for the business?
I do not know the answer to that, and I would ask you to reach out to your accountant to find out the answer to that. As a matter of fact, that's a question I tried to find an answer to prior to this, and I was unsuccessful. So county attorneys have directed us to ask that you reach out to your accountant.
What if during construction something comes up, like in an older building, there may be asbestos or something similar that greatly increases the cost? Can the grant be adjusted after the initial agreement?
It cannot. It cannot. I understand that that's a risk, and that's one of those things that we also discussed internally. We recognize that that could absolutely happen, and there was just really no way around, like no way to accommodate for that. I guess the only thing I would say is if by some miracle that all this funding isn't allocated, maybe there could be another application submitted, but I don't see that happening.
Will any interior improvements be considered?
Interior improvements absolutely could be considered.
Can a building owner and a separate business owner, the leasee, submit two separate applications for the same property, but for different projects?
Didn't we already have that question? Yeah,
think we
I
did
would
have
just
that one before.
coordinate your application, submit one coordinated application or two separate applications, but make sure that the projects don't overlap.
Would a letter from a bank be good enough that they will support the funding for the project?
Yep,
And can indoor square footage be added as part of an addition for grant funding?
yes. Yes, but yes, it could be.
And those are all of the questions from both the Q&A panel and the chat that I see.
Okay, well, I guess I would like
Oh.
to thank everybody for being on. And again, I just wanted to say, I want to end with, we were given this directive from our Economic Development Committee, our chairman, Rich Andres, and he came to us and said, you know, we really want to get this money out on the streets as fast as possible, and we want you to create a program that's going to not only improve the main streets across Niagara County, but also assist businesses. So I understand that there's probably some impediments in this and some issues, and maybe getting bids is going to be difficult, but please understand that we tried our very hardest to try and make a program that was going to help businesses and help the community and do it as fast as possible. So that was our intent. And if there's any other questions or anything else comes up, please call us. We'd be happy to help you in any way we can. Thank you.